Good day to you one and all, it is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Many of you in the comment sections of my numerous videos have mentioned that I should probably speak about Sleaford Mods. A lot of comments go along the lines of, "Yeah, how comes you ain't done no Sleaford Mods yet?" And so today I'm going to do it. Sleaford Mods is a band that Ed Graham, the former drummer of The Darkness, first alerted me to many years ago, and I've really enjoyed watching them ever since, really. There's one performance in particular that I'd like to focus on today, and it's when they performed Jobseeker live on Jools Holland in 2015. I've watched that thing on YouTube more times than I'd care to remember. It's quite brilliant, and I'm going to talk about it today. So yeah, you won't be disappointed, I promise you. I promise you. Justin Hawkins rides again. You know, the great thing about living in England in the 90s and noughties was I felt like, well, I've come to appreciate it more now, that the welfare state gives people who want to chase a career in music an opportunity to do that and slum it. And, you know, you live on each other's floors, and you do what you can to get by because you're chasing the dream. You know, most of the time you're living in London, trying to be part of a music scene and desperately pressing your face up against the window like Tiny Tim at Christmas time, looking for a way in. And I think the way the welfare state was structured back then, it actually allowed people to do that. And I think that's why music became one of Britain's biggest exports, probably the second biggest export after steel at the time when I was when I last checked those stats, which is in the 90s at some point. So this song Jobseeker really reminds me of my experiences of being on the dole for a long time and sort of being obliged to at least gesticulate as though you're looking for work, when in fact what you're looking for is a career in music. It did change a little bit towards the end of the 90s when Tony Blair's government came into power, and the idea was that there was a new deal for people who are sort of in creative or artistic fields. And the idea of the New Deal was that, you know, it would support people like myself who I'd already had a little bit of not success, but I'd actually worked as a professional musician for a while, and I was really struggling, and I just needed to get on my feet and, you know, get a band going that would make a difference and get me off the dole, basically. So they said, yeah, there's a new deal for musicians now, and I think the way it worked was you were obliged to sort of go into some kind of training, so that you weren't one of the statistics that says that you're unemployed, if you see what I mean. So basically they just moved me from being on the dole to in training, and the money was the same. I might have got like £5 a week more or something like that, but I was in training. So the new deal for musicians, I thought, would be like some kind of vocational training that would be, you know, in the music sector somewhere. Maybe it would be like being a T-boy in a studio or some sort of commercial recording enterprise, you know. But in the end, I was told when I went to my first New Deal thing, well, you got two choices. You can do office work or gardening work. To which I replied, well, can I do gardening work in the summertime, and then when it gets to winter, go and work in an office? They're like, nope, you've got to choose now. So I chose office just in case I was on the dole for much longer. I'd already been signing on for a while then. So I went to work in an office and felt a little bit as though the New Deal for musicians was just a con, you know. And I just felt like it was a way to just make you obliged to fill your days with something that was just meaningless training in an area of employment that you weren't interested in, you know. So when a band like Sleaford Mods comes along and they're sort of talking about this stuff, I just fucking love it. It's awesome, and the anger and the nihilism, all that stuff, I just think it's great. So there's this one song that they did on Jools Holland in 2015. It's called Jobseeker. I'm going to talk about the way it's structured in this particular performance, which is staggering.
Now we change the vibrations again, and I'm delighted to get into this room from Nottingham, Sleaford Mods.
Okay, the first thing to say about Sleaford Mods is that the guy whose job it is to hold a pint and operate the laptop really looks like a very dear friend of mine, Tom Lessner. Particularly, he looks like Tom Lessner when I first met him. He's got a bit of facial hair, he's tall, he's thin, he looks pretty badass. So, Mr. Williamson, Once his got the laptop going, he steps back and just drinks from his pint. I mean, this is so, I don't know, awesome. It's just, they're living the dream, both of them.
So, Mr. Williamson, what have you done in order to find gainful employment since your last signing on day? What? Fuck all!
Really brilliant piece of voice acting that's on the backing track there, talking about what he's done to find gainful employment since his last signing on date. I was asked that question every, was it 2 weeks I had to do it? Yeah, it probably was. I don't know whether it's supposed to be, it's basically E minor, G, I think it's A major. That would be the punkier option. I mean, listen to how simple that backing track is. It's all about his delivery as a vocalist. And my God, he doesn't disappoint. Check this out.
19.2 top.
I'm not sure what that 19.2 top is. I never actually got around to researching that, but I've often wondered. I'll quickly look now. 19.2. There's a Reddit post about it. Let's have a look here. He was working in cold storage van. Every hour, he and another guy would check the temperature of the chicken by putting a thermometer in the top and middle pallets. If the temperature was above 22 degrees, they'd have to send it back. So this sounds like one of those things where you're put into, like, involuntarily dragged into the workforce just to muddy the statistics and make it seem like the new government is performing better than the last one. It's a con, basically, and I think he'll go on to call them out on that.
18.4, mate, middle. Rob, 19.2 top.
So I wonder if this is like a character who is maybe it's not the training thing of being dragged into the workforce. Maybe he's working for cash. I know a lot of people that had to do that. They don't quite give you enough money to live on. And poverty, especially when you live in London, that's hard to take.
Jobseeker, can of Strongbow, I'm a mess.
Okay, Jobseeker, can of Strongbow, I'm a mess. So Strongbow, of course, being like a popular cider brand. So he's drinking cider from a can. He's a mess.
Desperately clutching on to a leaflet on depression, supplied to me by the NHS.
Desperately clutching on to a leaflet on depression, supplied to me by the NHS, the National Health Service. That's the main difference between the UK and the United States, I reckon, is the NHS is an organisation that was founded in the 40s, I think, after the Second World War, determined as it was then to provide healthcare to all of the citizens, including the most vulnerable, making Britain, proud. Basically, that was our. I think that's one of the reasons why everyone loved us. Literally everybody in the world loved us, regardless of the sort of colonial histories and the checkered past that we had with various other peoples.
It's anyone's guess how I got here. Anyone's guess how I'll go. A suck on a roll-up.
Roll-up, of course, being a handmade cigarette as opposed to a tailor-made cigarette, the likes of which you might find in a box of Marlboros.
So, fuck off. I'm going home. Jobseeker.
So I just think that's an amazing piece of prose. Like, check that out.
Jobseeker, can of Strongbow, I'm a mess. Desperately.
I love that. Can of Strongbow, I'm a mess. Desperately holding on to a leaflet on depression supplied to me by the NHS. It's anyone's guess. And all those. It's just brilliant where he lands the rhymes. I just think he's a great lyricist.
Anyone's guess how I'll go. A suck on a roll-up. Pull your jeans up.
And his face is contorted, distended in complete anger and despair. It's really brilliant. And he has this sort of like slightly, how can I put this? It's a really sort of gentle touch when he's holding his microphone stand. Hang on a second. So it's kind of like, he's just grabbing it like this, but he's got this contorted face. It's really like, I don't think what you get is what you see with this guy. There's much more going on under the hood, as it were. I think he's a really interesting character.
Pull your jeans up. Fuck off. I'm going home.
He has this brilliant like tick where he sort of flicks possibly flicks the hair forward from the back of his head, and I'm wondering if that's sort of like a gesture that sort of suggests the I don't know, the fort path. I don't know why he's doing that. It's fun to watch though.
Jobseeker!
He's a good dancer as well.
Mr. Williamson, what have you done in order to find gainful employment since your last signing on date?
Yet more brilliant voice acting, this time done in real time over the microphone.
Fuck all, I sat around the house wanking.
I just love the brutal honesty of it. Sat around the house wanking. People always talk about the guys that are on the dole all the time, and the assumption would be that you sit around the house masturbating, watching daytime TV, perhaps. Another phrase that I heard in the League of Gentlemen once was flicking yourself off to Trisha, which was presumably talking about Trish Goddard, who was a chat show host in the 90s and probably still is. I'm not sure.
And I want to know why you don't serve coffee here. My signing on time's supposed to be 11:10. It's now 12 o'clock.
I like the way the character that he's channeling here is getting upset about going in to sign on at 11:10 and being made to wait until 12 o'clock. And I think that's another thing that you feel when you're on the dole all the time. You just sort of, you don't feel as though your time matters to them at all. You know, there's no, I suppose it's a respect question, really, or at least it feels like that.
Some of these smelly bastards need exterminating.
So he's already putting himself above and beyond his fellow job seekers. And the exterminating is a reference to the classic British science fiction Doctor Who. The Daleks used to talk about exterminating their prey. Would they prey on us? Yeah, I suppose they would. The Daleks used to famously go, "Exterminate! Exterminate!" And I think that's what he's talking about there. So there's so much British stuff going on in here. You got Doctor Who, signing on, I don't know, some other stuff.
You got a till full of 20s looking at you all day. Well, I'm hardly going to fucking bank it. I've got drugs to take and a mind to break.
So he's saying that he doesn't want to go back into the workplace in the same way that he in the same sort of capacity that he was employed before, because he's concerned that he's just going to steal all the money and take drugs. I just think he feels a bit abandoned by the entire system, really, doesn't he? He's obviously got some mental health concerns that aren't being addressed, and it feels like when he's stealing money and you know, using drugs in that particular way, he might be self-medicating. It's a really interesting lyric, isn't it? It's just so many layers to it, and really fucking hilarious at the same time, in a good way, and you know, but in a way that offers a new perspective on this stuff that it's easy to sort of stroke your chin rather, and then sort of go, oh yeah, but these are serious issues and that. But I don't know, his perspective is really interesting, I think.
Jobseeker, can a strong bow on a mess, desperately clutching on to a leaflet on depression.
So that depression, when he keeps talking about depression, he's offering all these little breadcrumbs of clues as to why this character's in this position. And I think he's probably implying that a pamphlet on depression will not suffice. You need a bit more than that, probably.
Come on, that's what Jobseeker says. No, 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 no. Ooh, Jobseeker 7. Come on.
I just think this, between the voice acting that he's doing, the intensity of his performance, and like the flawless delivery of this lyric, and the way all these, I don't know, all the rhymes are landing, and it's a brilliant performance. And he's got this stuff where he's doing the the filler stuff, and his dancing is amazing. Honestly, I think it's one of the most iconic performances I've ever seen on Jools Holland. And I used to watch that religiously when I was unemployed. Didn't have to get up in the morning, did I? As luck would have it. So I strongly recommend watching this performance in its entirety. Listen to Sleaford Mods, buy all their records. They're doing something that I actually think is quite important, and I really love them. I think they're ace. Yeah, you can do a lot worse than listening to Sleaford Mods. Justin Hawkins rides again. If you feel in any way abandoned, alienated, if you despair at the state of our nation or yours or any nation or the world, Keep coming back. I'll cheer you up. Don't worry about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you on the ice or in the queue or somewhere else. I don't know. Nice one, guys. See you later.